You're listening to the Bring the Thunder podcast, a podcast by fans for fans.
Yes, you are indeed, and welcome back to the Bring the Thunder podcast. I'm here with Satvir and Jack. We're going to do a little pregame show for a very big game for the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. First time they play since Game 5 of the Western Conference Final. Fellas, this is like the first big game OKC has had since the Lakers. And if you want to call the Warriors have been up and down, but right now OKC's coming into this 117-1. Minnesota 10-7. Minnesota's coming off back-to-back losses against the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. OKC's coming off, looking to extend their 9-game winning streak to 10 tonight. Expected lineups for OKC. SGA, he is coming off a little bit of an illness, but he is expected to play. Casey Wallace, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein. The only players that remain out on what once was a long list of injuries is now Nikola Topic, Aaron Wiggins, and J-Dub still remain out. For Minnesota, they look fully healthy tonight. DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. Obviously, they made the switch to make Mike Conley come off the bench instead of start. That's a little bit of a difference between the last time OKC saw them in the Western Conference Final. Let's get right into it, fellas. Our first segment of the pregame show, overrated, underrated, X Factor, and favorite. I'm going to kick it to Satvir first.
I got Julius Randle for my overrated player. I feel like Jack may have chosen the same person, but I feel like he's in a slump. Had some late game issues with Minnesota, struggling with his efficiency, his jumper when it's not falling. He's kind of a ball stopper in that sense. His defense is kind of mid at best. I mean, if he locks in on a couple plays, he can be pretty decent, but I think we have a lot of physicality to throw at him, and he'll have to live with a lot of like step back mid ranges, and that's just not really the diet that you want him to actually take. Like if I was his body type or body size, like I'd rather be living in the paint, getting easier points, and I feel like he just doesn't do that consistently enough to make that leap into the level player that we think he should be. And also he's really only got one good hand, so makes it pretty predictable to guard him. So a lot of deficiencies on his end.
Absolutely. Jack, you're overrated player.
I can't agree with that pick, and it would have been my pick if I didn't want to be different today. But today I've chosen Jaden McDaniels' defense because as my overrated pick. And well, there's a lot of explaining to do, but I've just seen a lot of Timberwolves fans coming into this game saying Shai's going to have 10 points because Jaden McDaniels is this type of defender. Obviously, he's a premium defender, but I think they are overrating his defense to the point where they think it'll stop Shai, because I don't think it'll stop Shai. So obviously he's a good player and his defense is one of the best in the league, but Timberwolves fans in particular are overrating his defense.
I think I could kind of understand that. I mean, Shai cooked them up all postseason long last year, but it is, in fact, probably one of the hardest things to do in the league is guard SGA. So I agree with both of those. I really do. And Satvir, it's funny you say Julius Randle because I think a lot of people on the OKC side would probably agree. But let's not forget that in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, he went 5 of 6 from 3. And Game 5, he went 4 of 5, actually. I'm sorry. Which is about, a 66% average from deep in those two games. So he likes shooting in OKC, I'll tell you that, but I do agree with that. Guys, give me your underrated player for the night, starting with Satvir.
I'm going to go with Naz Reid for underrated player. I feel like he should be the guy that they're prioritizing, but they just haven't gotten that to happen. And I don't know why that's not the case. He's kind of the modern big that they need. I just think they have a lot of money invested in their front court between Gobert and Julius Randle to where it really hinders the rest of the roster construction with Anthony Edwards needing spacing because he is a good shooter. But when you have an all-star that's a premium player, you want to have spacing around him. And I feel like Naz Reid provides that spacing, and he's kind of the swing guy for them. He can put up big numbers off the bench. I think recently he had 22 and 12 versus Dallas. Just a way different look, and I feel like it's a better look than Gobert. He can, stretch away our bigs from the basket, so I think they're going to need a lot of his minutes. And I think the minutes where Gobert is off, you need Nas to play some solid defense. But in this type of NBA, I think he's a good enough of a center / power forward that you can start him, and I think they should.
Yeah, I'm happy you kind of brought that up because in the playoffs last year, we kind of, we were on Naz Reid before the series started. That was their X factor, and we expected more throughout the whole season last year. After Karl Anthony Towns left, we all expected a big leap from Naz Reid, and they didn't use him as much as I thought he would, as much as I thought they would. And that kind of continues to be the case here in Minnesota. But good shout, underrated Naz Reid. Jack, go ahead.
To make up for my last pick, I have Jaden McDaniels' offense as my underrated because I think it's a underappreciated part of his game, and it's really come to this year. I think his 3-point percent is really good, and just the looks he's getting on offense now that Nickeil Alexander-Walker's gone. I think he's really stepped up into that space. So, yeah, don't hate me all the way because I am going to defend his offense for my underrated.
No, I love that pick. When he's hot from three, he's a very good 3-point shooter. He has a nice mid-range as well. And like you mentioned, I'm also very happy that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is no longer on this team because he looks like he's cooking up in Atlanta. Satvir, an X factor for tonight.
Oh, man. I feel like this is Wolves fans. You probably agree with me if you're an honest Wolves fan. Maybe coming up against us as your arch nemesis, probably not so much. I know a lot of people could say for X factors like the battle between Gobert versus Chet, Ant versus Shai. That's something we will cover. But for me, it's going to be how Minnesota handles themselves in the fourth quarter versus a team like ours that's pretty elite, 17-1, can do everything on both ends. And we usually close out really well, in the third quarter, especially going into the fourth with big runs. And we've done it against every other team. So I'm curious, one, is they're going to be able to handle that, but mainly if the pressure of the late game is going to get to them, because I think they were up 8 with 50 seconds left versus Phoenix. They were up 10 with 3 minutes left versus Sacramento, and they lost both of those games for the Wolves. So I think they need to learn how to close their quarters, need to learn how to close their games. Obviously, that comes up for Ant to handle, and I feel like it's just a lot of lack of spacing that I've already mentioned, and just I feel like they don't have that premium playmaking. And also they're missing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, to be honest. He was a good spark plug for them in terms of defense and energy, but his underrated part of his game was his offense. He had a pretty solid and consistent offense, and so I think they need to figure that part about their game. I expect a little bit more from Dante DiVincenzo. This type of game, he usually shows up for big games. So let's see how they do in the fourth.
Love that. Jack.
Yeah, I love that pick. For mine, 2 words, Ant-Man. He's the X factor. I think if he's not on, this team doesn't know what to do. So they need him. And yeah, without him, this isn't a real team. But when he's on, it might be a long day.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to throw my 2 cents in here. I think my X factor for the night would actually be Lou Dort and Cason Wallace guarding Anthony Edwards. They did a heck of a job in last year's playoff series. It's all about not letting him get the ball in his hands, and they did an excellent job at that. And I expect them to do it tonight. Same with Alex Caruso. You throw him in there as well. So, Satvir, finally, your favorite player on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm pretty sure I know that's hard to come by.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it has to be that kid Terrence Shannon Jr. I feel like he always shows up against us. If Thunder fans, if you guys watch games against the Wolves consistently, you'll know every time he comes in from the bench, when they're down, he'll come in and drop 10 to 15 points and kind of bring them back into games. And they've started to utilize him as just a weapon against Shai on defense and then on offense as well against Shai. So it's been an interesting, I guess, wrinkle. And he's kind of become my favorite because I'm like, he always ends up doing a lot of stuff for them. And Players like that always intrigue me because I feel like this Wolves team is really hindering their youth that they have. They just need to move towards the youth, and they haven't done that. So
I am glad you brought that up. Terrence Shannon Jr., the nightmares are gone. I honestly forgot about him for a little while.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that he's averaging 3 points per game to coming into tonight, and if he goes over 10, I can't handle it anymore. I cannot handle it anymore. So
he's going over 10, and like they have Jalen Clark, they have Rob Dillingham. Like there's all these guys that come in when this team starts losing big, and then they start coming back into games. And for me, for the life of me, I just don't understand why they don't just utilize their bench more often. And that's just something weird. So
I believe it's their coach. We went over that, but let me not. Jack, go ahead.
I also feel like these players only show out against us as well. Like you said, he's averaging 3.3 points, but chucking down 15 tonight, I'd say. But my favorite player on this team is Anthony Edwards. It might be controversial, but I like him. He's swag. He plays like he's like a walking highlight. He's what Ja Morant wishes he was, basically, in my opinion. And he's winning basketball. He's been carrying the Timberwolves to conference finals. Like he's keeping them competitive, and you got to respect it. So, and then all the off the court stuff is pretty cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Gabe's not going to like that one, but I absolutely agree with you. Good transition, though, Jack. We're going to spotlight Anthony Edwards tonight as our player to look out for the head-to-head against SGA. Obviously, those are the two best players on the floor tonight. Coming into tonight, Ant's averaging about 28 points per game, 5 rebounds and 4 assists on 2 steals and a block. So he's having a pretty solid start to the year. Satvir, I'm going to let you go first. What are the keys for OKC to slow this guy down tonight?
Limit his 3-point shooting. Have Lou Dort guard him and just limit the amount of attempts, because when he gets attempts up, he makes a lot of them. And that's just kind of the truth for a guy that's this athletic. For some reason, him being on Team USA and hanging around Kevin Durant, that's the one trait he pretty much ended up, working really hard at. And I think it's just kudos to a guy that's like him. And like Jack mentioned, this is what Ja Morant wishes he was. There's a bunch of other stars that are really athletic that could have taken that leap in the 3-point percentage, and they just never end up doing it. And he kind of he does that. And then the crazy thing is, every time he goes against Shai, he's like, okay, Shai does this move. And then like a couple games down the line, you'll see a highlight of him copying that same exact move. So he's really good about doing stuff like that. And I think he's starting to improve his mid-range. This kid is really elite in putting in the hard work, but also taking all the best traits from the better players. And I haven't seen guys do that very often. It's a rare trait to have.
Yeah, he's a super smart player, excellent learner. You saw him use the rip through a lot in the playoff series last year. He'd bring that ball low, try to draw the foul, and he's getting to the line, getting to the paint, excuse me. And yeah, absolutely. The one thing that they were kind of nitpicking was he needs to learn a little bit more of a post game. And you mentioned the mid range; it's starting to really come along for the kid. I think he's excellent. I really do. And I forget who mentioned it the other night on our live, but when we shortly previewed this game, the one thing is you just can't let him get going. And OKC did a very good job of that in last year. So hopefully they can repeat the same success on defense tonight, because once he gets going, this is one of the players that it's microwave. It might be over before you even have a chance. So, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the first part of stopping him is accepting he will get 20 to 30 points, and there's nothing you can do about that. But I think how he gets those is the biggest part. Make it as hard as possible. We have Dort, Caruso, and Kaysen, and we always say they play the same and we can just roll them out. So let them guard him for 2 minutes, like high intensity, and then sub one out for the other. Keep them rolling, and just never give Ant a second to breathe. I think if you do that, then he'll become frustrated. I mean, like I said, he'll still get his shots up, still get his points, but if they're harder to get and more inefficient, then I think we'll win like that. And then the second thing I wanted to say was don't focus just on Ant, because I feel like if we pour all our defensive energy into Ant, then some of his teammates might, like Terrence Shannon Jr. or Jalen Clark, might just have the game of their lives. So I think we also need to be locked on everyone else on the court, because you can only try so hard to shut down Ant, but then if his teammates are also hitting, then it'll be a long day in the office. So
absolutely. All right. With that being said, fellas, let's get into everyone's favorite segment of the pregame show. Some betting lines. Just a quick shout. We are not betting analysts, so don't take this. Take this with a grain of salt. But we're going to give our best shot to predict how this game's going to go. Starting with OKC minus 10.5 as we speak right now, and minus 455 on the money line. Satvir, 10.5 is kind of hefty for an opponent like this, but I said that for the Lakers and the Warriors as well, and we saw what happened. So your expectations on that spread tonight?
Oh man, this is it feels like it's pretty tough. I mean, if I had to, I always put my score prediction first and then go with what I think is going to happen. So I think 120 to 108, the Thunder are going to win this. So they are going to cover the minus 10.5. The minus 455, I feel like, is pretty safe as well.
Yeah, if you got it like that, you could throw your 500 to win 100 if you want.
Yeah, essentially. And I do have us extending our streak to 18-1. This is all hindering on Shai's game time decision, obviously. I think we haven't mentioned that yet. So he does have an illness. You guys probably saw in the ticker below, like all the different injuries and who's out and whatnot. And everyone's healthy for the Timberwolves. If Shai plays, we win. If Shai doesn't play, I don't think we can beat this team without him, to be honest. Anthony Edwards is just that good, and it's going to come down to that late game execution that I was talking about, and you really pretty much need Shai for that. Like, I don't see anyone else creating at that level. Like, he's different. So, yeah, that's where my prediction's at.
Yeah, I agree. It also doesn't help that we don't have J-Dub if Shai does not play, but he's expected to play right now, so we'll see. Jack, 10.5. Thoughts?
I think OKC cover. They're going into this with an average of plus 31.5 in their 2 NBA Cup games. They obviously want to win this, and like they've got the extra motivation every time they play a cup game. And then, yeah, like I said, like you guys were saying with the closers, I think Ajay Mitchell is an underrated closer. In the crunch time, he's very confident and just gets to the hoop, takes high percentage shots. So I would look at him if Shai's out and we need to go to someone down the line. But with that being said, I do agree that if Shai's out, it'll be a much tougher game. But I think we could still pull out the win just based off defense alone. But yeah, give me OKC covering.
Good point on Ajay Mitchell being a super confident closer. I agree. Funny enough, the world was kind of exposed to Ajay Mitchell in Game 3 in the playoff series last year, where we got absolutely torched. Ajay came in and played pretty decent, and that was everybody, outside of OKC was like, "Who's this kid? He looks pretty good." And now they know. Satvir, I'm coming back to you here. SGA's line sitting at 32.5 points. They're slightly favoring the under, but 32.5 kind of tells me that they're expecting them to play some fourth quarter tonight.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the expectation that a Wolves fan should have, that this game is close enough to where they can at least compete in that fourth. I think he'll play some in the fourth, if anything, but I think he can finish with, if he's going to play tonight, like 34 to 36 points, controlling the fourth quarter. They'll probably take their shots at it, but he'll keep us afloat as always whenever we need a bucket. So according to the lines, I'm going to go ahead and take that over on this one.
There we go.
Yeah. I see him getting around 37, so I'm taking the over as well.
37.
Pretty much.
Pretty much
everything Satvir said. Yeah, no.
All right, let's move over to Chet Holmgren. Chet sitting at 19.5, slightly favored under. Satvir.
Yeah, I think with this many bigs that are going to be thrown at him, and Hartenstein, especially with Naz Reid being as mobile as he is, I feel like they have enough that can kind of cover for Chet, and so it makes me a lot less comfortable. Obviously, like, we need Chet to have a really good game, but he can also just end up just scoring 17, 18 points, and we still win with him getting, like, let's say, like 10 rebounds and like 3 blocks or something in this game. I feel like that's still a pretty solid game against this type of competition. It's more about him deterring at the like on the defensive end. Even if he doesn't get the blocks, as long as he's a deterrent at the rim, like, he's more important. But I'll go on the under on Chet, which is rare.
Mm-hmm.
It is rare.
I'm going over, and I just have a hunch that it's going to be a career night for him in some way. I just have that feeling. So you've heard it here first.
I don't mind that take at all, and I'll tell you why, Jack and Satvir, and maybe I'll change your mind a little bit here, Satvir.
Sure.
In the playoff series last year, Chet went 15, 22, 10, 21, 22. So 3 games out of 5, he hit the over of this mark, and that was with J-Dub. So he played very well against Minnesota last year in the playoffs, and we know playoff defense is a little more feisty than regular season. So my 2 cents, I think I'm taking his over as well. Anyway, let's move over. I want to go Anthony Edwards here. Anthony Edwards is sitting at 25.5, slightly favored under.
Taking the over. I'll answer quickly.
Yeah.
If they want a close game, the bookie's probably predicting a closer game. I know it's a 10.5 spread, but he's still going to have to be – he's always the one with the ball in his hands. So against a team like this, even with this amount of defenders, it's probably bad for me to say over, but I just like him. So, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be over, but like I said, it's going to be an inefficient over. Like,
yeah.
It won't be his regular 25-plus points. It'll be, yeah.
I can make the case that I would take the under actually tonight because I do think we'll be hyper-focused on – obviously, he's going to get his. But Julius Randle is at 20.5, slightly favored over, and our main matchup against Julius Randle in the playoffs last year was Jalen Williams, and he's not playing in this game. And obviously, Julius Randle is known to be a bit sporadic, and that's why Satvir had him as overrated, which I fully agree on. But if there ever was a game for him to play well, I think tonight is the night. And we'll finish up with Ajay Mitchell, fellas. 16.5, even line. Not favored either way.
16 is tough. I liked when it was back down in the 14.5 and 15s. His line's starting to move up. People are probably betting on him and listening to us. But regardless of that said, he's probably playing 25-plus minutes and giving us 18 points. So I'm still knocking on that over with him because, I mean, more than enough times he's proven it. So why not?
Mm-hmm. I'm going with that gut feeling again. I have him 21 points exactly. Give me the over.
Love it. Love it, fellas. All right. With that being said, that's going to wrap up our pregame show. If you guys are enjoying the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications on, and go check out our premium memberships. And with that being said, I mean, I kind of wanted to just quickly mention 6:30 start, ESPN, Doris Burke on the call. Good luck, OKC. We'll see you live after the game for our post-game live. And Thunder up, baby. Let's go.